Part 1, The Forgotten Relic. The twin suns of Kepler 438c cast long purple shadows across the crystalline desert as Fiona Wright adjusted her environment suit. The mission was supposed to be routine, survey the ruins of what appeared to be an ancient civilization and catalog any significant findings. But after 3 weeks on this desolate exoplanet, all they'd found were crumbling structures and indecipherable markings. Lieutenant Wright, I'm registering unusual energy fluctuations 70 meters northeast of your position. The smooth voice of Javek, her Zeridian science officer, came through the comm. His species' ability to detect subtle energy patterns had proven invaluable on countless expeditions. Copy that, Fiona replied, adjusting her trajectory. The crystalline sand crunched beneath her boots as she navigated toward the coordinates. Any idea what's causing it? Negative. The signature doesn't match any known technology in the galactic archives. It appears to be pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. Fiona crested a small rise and stopped abruptly. Before her lay a perfectly circular depression in the ground, its perimeter lined with what appeared to be metallic nodes. At the center, jutting from a pedestal of black stone, was what could only be described as a sword. Javek, are you seeing this? She whispered, the suit's camera transmitting real-time footage back to the research vessel in orbit. Fascinating, came the response, Javek's normally controlled voice tinged with excitement. The energy signature is emanating from that object. The readings are extraordinary. The sword was unlike anything Fiona had ever seen. Its blade appeared to be made of a material that shimmered with an inner light, pulsing gently like a living thing. Strange symbols ran along its length, somehow familiar yet entirely alien. I'm going to take a closer look, she said, carefully descending into the depression. Lieutenant, perhaps we should wait for the full research team. We've been searching for anything significant for weeks, Javek. I'm just going to observe it up close. As she approached, the sword's pulsing increased in tempo, its glow intensifying. The symbols along the blade began to shift and change, as if responding to her presence. The energy output just tripled, Javek reported, his voice now urgent. Lieutenant, I recommend immediate withdrawal until we can analyze. It's reacting to me, Fiona murmured, mesmerized by the shifting patterns. It's almost like it's calling to me. She reached the pedestal and circled it slowly. The black stone appeared to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating a stark contrast with the luminous blade. There are inscriptions on the pedestal, she reported, leaning closer to examine them. They look similar to proto-galactic, but much older. Can you capture clear images? I might be able to begin translation. Fiona adjusted her suit's camera and took detailed scans of the markings. As she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling that the sword was watching her, waiting for something. Lieutenant, Javek's voice interrupted her thoughts, we've received a transmission from the Galactic Survey Corps. A Zenlarian research vessel is approaching the system. They're claiming prior jurisdiction over this sector. Fiona frowned. The Zenlarians were notorious for their aggressive acquisition of artifacts, often destroying valuable contexts in their haste to claim prizes for their museums. How long until they arrive? Approximately 12 hours. They're demanding we cease all operations immediately. Fiona looked back at the sword, its pulsing now synced with her own heartbeat. 12 hours wasn't enough time for proper documentation, let alone excavation. We need to speed things up, she decided. I'm going to attempt to document the extraction process. Maybe there's a release mechanism for the pedestal. Lieutenant, I must formally object. Protocol clearly states. Noted, Science Officer, Fiona replied, her tone making it clear the discussion was over. She studied the pedestal carefully, looking for any indication of how the sword might be removed. Finding nothing obvious, she cautiously placed her hand on the hilt. Immediately, a jolt of energy surged through her suit, and the symbols on the blade flared brilliantly. Javek, she gasped as data streamed across her suit's displays. Are you getting this? Affirmative, came the tense reply. Your suit is picking up unprecedented energy levels. Your vital signs are elevated but stable. What are you experiencing? It's communicating somehow. Through my suit systems, maybe. I'm seeing images. Stars. Battles. Humanoid figures wielding similar weapons. The connection intensified, images flooding her mind faster than she could process. Ancient starships bearing markings similar to those on the blade. Humans, unmistakably humans, in advanced armor, standing among alien species as equals, as leaders. Acting on instinct more than reason, Fiona gripped the hilt firmly and pulled. The sword slid from the stone as smoothly as if it had been waiting for her all along. The moment it cleared the pedestal, a shockwave of energy pulsed outward, temporarily disabling her suit's systems. When they rebooted seconds later, Javek's frantic voice filled her helmet. "Lieutenant. Lieutenant Wright. Do you copy?" "I'm here," she responded, staring in wonder at the sword now in her hand. It felt impossibly light, perfectly balanced, as if it had been crafted specifically for her. The blade's glow had settled into a steady pulse that matched her heartbeat exactly. What happened? The energy surge temporarily knocked out our sensors. I removed the sword, Fiona said simply, testing its weight with a few careful movements. It moved through the air with unnatural ease, leaving faint trails of light in its wake. "You removed it?" Javek sounded stunned. "But our preliminary scans indicated it was molecularly bonded to the pedestal. It would require specialized equipment to." "I just pulled it out, Javek." Let me take it." There was a long pause before Javek spoke again. "Lieutenant, our scans show the depression is beginning to destabilize. The entire area is becoming geologically unstable. You need to evacuate immediately." Fiona looked around and saw he was right. The crystalline ground was shifting, cracks spreading outward from the pedestal like a spiderweb. "Copy that. Heading to extraction point." As she climbed out of the depression, sword in hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. The images she'd seen, humans standing as equals among the stars, wielding powers beyond current understanding, contradicted everything known about humanity's place in the galactic community. "Javek," she said as she made her way back across the desert, "I think we just made first contact with our own past." Part 3, The Hunt Begins. The Syndicate's Wrath. The Syndicate dropships descended like vultures, their plasma cannons charging. Kale barely had time to yank the Godblade free before the cavern's ceiling exploded. Rock shrapnel rained down as Lyra tackled him behind the monolith. "You knew this would happen." Kale snarled, wiping blood from his brow. Lyra's silver skin flickered with defensive energy, a Veldari survival trait. "I knew the blade had guardians. Not that your employers would betray you." A voice boomed from above, "Surrender the relic, human. Or be erased." Kale peeked over the rubble. 6 armored Zorati enforcers floated down on gravpacks, their rifles humming. The Syndicate symbol, a serpent coiled around a credit chit, glowed on their chests. "They're not here to negotiate," Lyra whispered. Kale grinned. "Good. The Godblade awakens." The moment the first enforcer fired, the Godblade moved on its own. Kale's body became a conduit, the blade deflected plasma bolts, its edge humming with a low, hungry frequency. One enforcer lunged, Kale sidestepped, and the sword cut through armor like paper. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's bonding with you." Kale didn't have time to process that. The remaining enforcers activated stasis fields, slowing time around them. But the Godblade pulsed, shattering the effect. Kale moved faster than should have been possible, a blur of steel and fury, until only one enforcer remained, kneeling, his helmet cracked. "Who sent you?" Kale pressed the blade to the alien's throat. The enforcer laughed. "The whole galaxy will hunt you now, human. The blade chooses its heirs, and the void hungers for it." Then his body dissolved into black mist. The scholar's revelation. Back in Lyra's cloaked ship, the Star Weaver, Kale collapsed into a seat, the Godblade's glow finally dimming. Lyra scanned it with a trembling device. "This isn't just a weapon," she said. "It's a key." A hologram flickered to life, a star map with 3 pulsating coordinates. "The Storm Forge," Lyra breathed. "An ancient human warship. If the Syndicate wants this blade so badly, it's because they know what it unlocks." Kale's vision blurred again, another flash of memory. A mammoth vessel hidden inside a dying star. A voice, his own, "Seal it. No matter the cost." "We need to get there first," he growled. "Bounty on their heads." Their escape wasn't clean. The Syndicate had flagged them galaxy-wide. As the Star Weaver broke Otmo, alerts blared. ++ wanted, human male, Kale Varek, and Veldari female, Lyra, ++. ++ crime, theft of galactic artifact ++. ++ reward, 5 million credits, dead or alive ++. Lyra cursed. "We can't outrun every mercenary in the system." Kale leaned back, spinning the Godblade lazily. "Who said anything about running?" Outside the viewport, 3 bounty hunter ships dropped out of warp. The Blood Moon Corsairs. The lead ship hailed them, a jagged, crimson-hulled nightmare with a laughing skull insignia. A scarred Crothan pirate filled the screen, his 4 eyes gleaming. "Hand over the blade," he rasped, "or we'll peel your ship apart like rotten fruit." Lyra's hands flew over the controls. "I'll try to lose them in the asteroid belt." Kale stood, rolling his shoulders. "No. Open the airlock." "What?" He hefted the Godblade. "I wanna see if this thing works in 0G. As the Corsairs opened fire, Kale leaped into the void. To be continued. Next part preview. 0G sword combat, yes, it's as epic as it sounds. The Stormforge's deadly awakening. Who, or what, is the void the Syndicate fears? Part 4, The Stormforge. The dance of blades in the void. Kale tumbled through the vacuum, the Godblade flaring to life in his grip. Its energy wrapped around him like a second skin, forming an oxygen-rich aura, an instinctive defense he hadn't known it possessed. The Blood Moon Corsair's ship loomed before him, its plasma turrets swiveling to lock on. "Human fool," the Crothan pirate snarled over the comms. "You'll freeze before we even shoot." Kale grinned. "Let's test that." He kicked off a floating debris chunk, propelling himself straight at the ship's hull. The Godblade screamed through metal, carving open a jagged entry. Alarms wailed as atmosphere vented, and Kale rode the explosive decompression straight into the ship's guts. Inside, zero gravity turned the fight into a ballet of death. Corsairs lunged at him with mag boots anchoring them to the floor, but Kale had no such limits. He spun, the Godblade leaving trails of blue fire as it cleaved through armor, flesh, and bulkheads alike. One pirate fired a tethered harpoon, Kale grabbed the cable and yanked, sending the alien careening into his own crewmate. Lyra's voice crackled in his earpiece, "Kale, quit showing off. I've got a lock on the Stormforge's coordinates, we need to go." Kale severed the ship's main thruster array with one final slash. "On my way." As he launched back toward the Star Weaver, the Corsair ship detonated behind him, casting his silhouette against the fireball. The Graveyard of Giants. The Stormforge wasn't hidden in some forgotten corner of space. It lay inside the corpse of a neutron star, a dead colossus, its core collapsed into a quantum-locked vault. Few ships could survive the gravitational tides, but the Star Weaver, with Lyra's modifications, skimmed the event horizon like a stone over water. "This is suicide," Lyra muttered, her hands white-knuckled on the controls. Kale watched the Godblade's runes pulse faster the closer they got. Nah. Suicide would have been staying with the Syndicate. The star's wreckage parted like a curtain, revealing a jagged maw of black metal. The Storm Forge. A ship that shouldn't exist. The warship was a kilometer of brutal angles and weapon ports, its hull etched with the same runes as the Godblade. As they docked, the air inside was strangely warm, smelling of ozone and old blood. No dust, Lyra noted, her scanner flickering. No decay. It's like time stopped in here. Kale touched a wall, and the ship reacted. Light surged through veins in the metal, converging on a central chamber. There, a holographic woman materialized, a human, clad in armor from a forgotten age. Genetic signature confirmed, she said. Welcome, heir of the Storm Legion. Kale's head throbbed with another vision. A fleet of these ships, glowing like a constellation. A war against creatures of living shadow. A sacrifice, the last Stormforge captain sealing herself away to deny the enemy their prize. Lyra gasped. Kale, this isn't just a warship. It's a tomb. The voids whisper. The hologram's eyes locked onto Kale. The Godblade is one of 7. The others are lost, but the void remembers. A proximity alert screamed. Lyra pulled up the external feed, a syndicate dreadnought had followed them. They must have tracked the Godblade's energy. The hologram didn't flinch. Activation protocol requires a bonded pair. Human and ally. Lyra hesitated, then placed her hand over Kale's on the control panel. The Stormforge roared to life. The first strike of the storm. Engines that hadn't fired in millennia thundered awake. Weapon ports slid open, revealing cannons that crackled with contained supernovas. The dreadnought fired first, a planet cracker missile, but the Stormforge intercepted it mid-flight, swallowing the explosion in a black hole containment field. Kale felt the ship like an extension of his body. He didn't need to speak commands, the Stormforge knew his will. One shot. A beam of compressed starlight lanced out, shearing the dreadnought in half. Silence. Then, a voice, not from the ship, not from the comms. From everywhere. You have awakened the forge. Now we awaken. The hologram's face twisted in warning. They're coming. Outside, the dead neutron star rippled. Something blacker than space itself seeped through its cracks. To be continued. Next part preview. The void's true form, why even the Syndicate fears it. Lyra's secret, her people's history with the Storm Legion. The Godblade's price, what it really takes to wield it. Part 2, Power Unleashed. The shuttle bay doors sealed behind Fiona as atmosphere flooded the chamber. She removed her helmet, the sword still clutched firmly in her right hand, its glow casting eerie blue patterns across the metallic walls. Lieutenant Wright, Javek's voice preceded his entrance. The tall, slender Zeridian moved with characteristic grace despite his obvious agitation. His iridescent skin shifted through shades of green and blue, a clear sign of emotional turmoil among his species. What you did was exceptionally reckless. Fiona barely heard him. The sword's energy had settled into a steady rhythm, but the visions continued flickering through her mind, fragments of memory that couldn't possibly be hers. You don't understand what I'm seeing, Javek, she whispered, eyes fixed on the glowing symbols along the blade. There's knowledge encoded in this weapon, ancient history, our history. Javek approached cautiously, his four-fingered hand extending a scanner toward the artifact. The energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It's not just a weapon, it appears to be actively processing data. It's more than data, Fiona corrected, finally looking up at her colleague. It's showing me visions of humanity's past. We weren't always the newcomers to galactic society. According to this, we were among the first. Javek's skin rippled with skeptical purple. That contradicts all established historical records. Humans achieved interstellar flight barely 2 centuries ago. What if our records are incomplete? What if, Fiona gasped as another vision surged through her consciousness. A massive space battle, Humans commanding vast fleets against shadowy entities that seemed to bend reality around them. There was a war. Against something that came from outside normal space. The ship's intercom interrupted her thoughts. Science Officer Javek, Lieutenant Wright, report to the bridge immediately. We're detecting multiple vessels entering the system. Javek's skin paled. The Zenlarians shouldn't be here for hours. It's not them, Fiona said with absolute certainty, though she couldn't explain how she knew. It's the Galactic Council. On the bridge, Captain Hendricks stared at the tactical display with growing concern. 3 Council enforcement vessels had dropped out of hyperspace and were moving to surround their research ship. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Patel reported, her fingers dancing across the console. On screen, Hendricks ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of Admiral Thox, his reptilian features set in a rigid expression that passed for diplomatic among the draconian species. Research Vessel Horizon, his voice rumbled, our sensors detect an unauthorized energy signature aboard your ship. By authority of the Galactic Council, you are ordered to surrender the artifact immediately. Captain Hendricks straightened. Admiral, we're conducting authorized research in this system. The artifact was discovered during legal archaeological operations. The artifact you've recovered is classified as a Tier 1 restricted technology, Thox replied, his scaled brow furrowing. It predates current galactic civilization and poses potential security risks. Surrender it immediately, or we will be forced to board your vessel. Fiona stepped forward, the sword humming in response to her rising emotions. How did you know we found it? We haven't even filed our preliminary reports. Admiral Thox's eyes narrowed as they fixed on the glowing blade. The activation of such technology triggers automatic alerts within Council security networks. That weapon belongs in secure containment, not in the hands of. He paused, contempt evident in his tone, lesser species. The sword's glow intensified, responding to Fiona's flash of anger. This artifact responded specifically to human contact. It contains information about our species' history that appears to have been deliberately obscured. Dangerous misinformation, Thox dismissed. You have 10 minutes to prepare the artifact for transfer, or we will take it by force. The transmission cut abruptly. Captain Hendricks turned to Fiona, his expression grave. Lieutenant, I don't want to start a diplomatic incident, but I need to understand what we're dealing with here. Captain, Javek interjected, his skin now a troubled violet, preliminary scans indicate the artifact has somehow integrated with Lieutenant Wright's biometric signature. Attempting to separate them could have unpredictable consequences. Fiona nodded, feeling the truth of Javek's words. The sword chose me, Captain. And it's trying to show me something the Council doesn't want us to know.